Welcome to CNET's 2023 general election coverage. I'm Ann Danahy, and today we're profiling the race for Harris Township Board of Supervisors. Joining us now is Republican candidate Bud Graham. Hi, Bud. Thank you for coming in to talk with us.
Well, thanks for having me again.
For people who don't know you, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running?
Well, I live in Boalsburg. I've always lived in Boalsburg. Grew up in State College School District, went to school here. And I have never left Boalsburg except for a short period of time earlier on. But I'm running because I'm ingrained in Boalsburg, and Boalsburg is sort of sacred to me, and it needs protected, I guess. Not really, but I want to see that we move in the right direction, and that's my main impetus for running.
Can you talk about that? What do you mean when you say move in the right direction?
Well, right now we have not really a lot of issues, but we do have a little bit of pressure on growth. We've had some recent developers that have grown out. We have to protect our open space. We have to protect our zoning, our growth boundary. And I think that's very important to keep Boalsburg the community that we need to live in, that we want to live in.
And we've talked about a couple issues here, but are there any that kind of rise to the top that you see as top priorities for the incoming Board of Supervisors?
There are a lot of issues, but as I said, I'll explain them in a minute, but my priority is to see that Boalsburg stays a livable community. You can retire there, raise your kids there. I see kids now, a lot of young kids running around town and bicycles. It's very vital. And I want to keep it a community where you can walk and not keep crime free and just enjoy your life. Other issues are we have parking issues. We're working on that one. It's been a year but we're trying to do it so that it benefits the residents and the businesses, and everybody can be happy. Happy medium there. I don't think it's impossible to do, but we want to do it right. We've been doing it now for basically a couple years, but we want to get it right. Another issue is, of course, we're worried about the interconnector coming through. We want to make sure that we work with PennDOT to minimize the impact at Harris Township. We think we've done that. We've had discussions with them on a few of the intersections, and we seem to be working with them well. We want to keep that going. And we want to make it a nice, friendly business community where friendly businesses can come to town and thrive. We had said a couple open up recently. They're excellent for Boalsburg, excellent for our residents. Our downtown walking is tremendous. We have to work on that a little bit, the streetscape. So those are issues we have to work through. They are difficult, but they're not imminent. We will work through it. We take our time, study it, and make sure it's right.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about the issue of growth and development. That's something that we're seeing a lot of in the center region. You see growing population, growing development. How do you view that impact on Harris Township, and what would you say is your approach to managing growth and development?
Well, you have to manage it no matter what. We had a very big growth spurt for quite a while. We have developments, newer developments, and they're developing now. And so there's a stress on us to go out into the rural areas. We've got to control that, especially our mountainsides, our steep slopes, and up the side of the mountain. We have to protect all that. And it's a struggle because we hope that we have designed ordinances that protect us from that, but still do not infringe on property rights. So I think we can do that. I'm very strong. We've got a couple of roads that lead into our mountains. We've got to protect those roads. So it's a little bit of a struggle, but I think with the board that we have, I think we have done well. And we are looking at, right now we're looking at a lighting and sign ordinance, which is important because we have a village commercial zone that we want to be careful that when that starts to develop, that's developed in a reasonable way with the right lighting, right signage, so it can stay a pleasant place to live.
And one of the big issues, which you mentioned also, was the State College Area Connector
Yes.
project, which is redoing 322. This is something that PennDOT is looking at doing, and it will have an impact on Harris Township if PennDOT follows through with one of the options that they're considering now. How do you see that? What role do you think the township should have in trying to give input into that?
Well, it is a big deal. We are, surprisingly, we've badgered PennDOT enough. They're starting to work with us. We've met with them, their engineers. It will impact Harris Township. I'm a little disappointed, as I said before, that they didn't find a shorter route for the trucks and cars to get to Interstate 80 to go west. I'm a little disappointed they didn't do that, but they chose not to for various reasons. So that's why we're working with them, and we're hoping to make it a road that is less impact. We've noticed that they have narrowed the impact from maybe 100 feet down to 50 feet. I'm not sure what, but they seem to be working with us, and we're trying to stay calm and be common sense, and they seem to be whacking with that. We've got one intersection that's a bypass. We finally convinced them that it doesn't need to be a major clover leaf. We finally convinced them that that wouldn't be their best option here, and we think we've done that. So the PennDOT has decided 20 years ago where they were going to go. I believe that. So we just have to make sure it's done right. Help for Harris Township.
And you mentioned the Cloverleaf intersection. Are there any other things in particular that you think would lessen the impact on the township?
No, we don't. We still don't know the exact location they're coming through. They're 30,000 feet in the air, and their felt tip pen is about 100 feet wide, or 2 miles wide. I don't know, but we're slowly getting there. Whenever they come in later next year or earlier next year, maybe. Then we'll know. Then we can start posturing ourselves and see what we want to do there. We do have some power. We just have to stay on top of it.
And on the other topic that you mentioned, being business friendly, how do you remain business friendly and helpful to the businesses while at the same time maintaining that community that you talked about?
I'll take your advice on that. We need advice. There's no real answer, but what we do is we take our time and look at this. Downtown Boalsburg was more or less our business community. 322 now is developing that. So we've got ordinances, hopefully, parking ordinances, zoning ordinances, hopefully that will develop into the kind of businesses that are great for small towns. Walkability is important. We want that. Bicycleability, we want that. All builds into quality of life in Harris Township, and I guess that's what I'm trying to say here.
And the Center Region Council of Governments has a sustainability climate plan that all the member municipalities signed on to. What are your thoughts on that and what the township should be doing with that?
Well, we're doing actually what you could be doing. We did sign on to that. We didn't mandate ourselves in any way. What we have said is that when we can and when it's possible, we will help meet the 2030 standards. And I think we will fit right in on that too. Now, sustainability is important. It takes, the toughest part about that is getting everybody to buy in onto it or to realize what grade you can do. I mean, we have both ends of the spectrum on that. People that aren't quite convinced, and people that are overly zealous on it. So we have to reach a medium somewhere that we can live with, and gradually, with a buy-in, and work our way into it. And I think we're doing that.
Do you see it as costing the township more money to participate and to try to reduce your greenhouse impact?
Not totally, no, I don't think so. There are expenses occurred, but I don't think it's going to cost the township a lot of money to be involved in that. There's like a list of 82 or 85 things that we can work on, and each one of them is a little minute to the project. We work on those. I think we'll do well. I don't necessarily think it's going to cost the township any more money than we would have spent in any other project.
And the Center Region Council of Governments is a way of offering different services and planning projects for all the member municipalities. What are your thoughts on that? Do you support COG? Are there any changes or new projects you would like to see?
Thanks for asking that question. Yes, I do support COG, very much so. We're having growing pains right now. We're having personnel people we have to hire the right people. But as far as the Center Region goes, the COG is an excellent opportunity for us. Harris Township, for example, with our contribution to that, which is about 10% of the overall contribution, we leverage $35 million worth of it. We have 3 regional parks, 2 swimming pools, Millbrook Marsh. We have a planning commission. We have a world-class library. Everything that we have for our citizens and for a very small portion of the money to invest in that. So I think that is very, very good. I do support the COG, and we're growing fast. We just finished the Whitehall Road Park, which was expensive. We're looking at phase 2, phase 3, and we're trying to support it as long as we can. Don't go crazy with it, and do it in a steady financial matter.
I want to go back to one of the other issues that you mentioned was parking. Are there anything in particular for parking that you think need to happen?
Oh, yes. Well, the issue is, how do we do the parking that benefits the residents that have to park and the businesses that need parking? Somewhere we have to reach that happy medium. And I think we're working on it. It's a slow process. I'm sure it's very frustrating for people that are on the other end of it, but we're getting there. We had lots of comments. We've done some sessions already. I made the comment that ever since the end of World War II, we've had a problem part because people could buy 2 cars, and on Main Street in Boalsburg, that is a little congestion. But we're going to work that out. We want to help our business get adequate parking. I know there's at least 2 more businesses that want to come into Main Street, and we're trying to work with them to get their parking. It is a toss-up. It's a problem that I'd like to have, to tell you the truth. We will solve it.
And Bud, we have about a minute left. Is there anything else you'd like to say to voters?
I don't know. Well, yeah, believe me. I was afraid you're going to ask me why should people vote for me. I was afraid you're going to ask that, because anybody puts themselves out there, I got a lot of respect for. But what you get with me is I'm very protective of Boalsburg. And we've met with different associations, and we try to do what we can do. We have very fortunate. We have a lot of educated people either way in Boalsburg. We work with them on our communities, our volunteers. They keep us straight. That's not what else to tell you. Vote for me, I guess. I don't know.
Bud Graham, thank you for coming in to talk with us.
Well, thank you.
We've been talking with Bud Graham, a Republican candidate in the race for Harris Township Board of Supervisors. All candidates on the ballot were invited to join us on CNET. I'm Ann Danahy. Thank you for watching our election coverage, and please remember to vote in the election November 7th. Welcome to CNET's 2023 election coverage. I'm Ann Danahy, and today we're talking with candidates in the race for Harris Township Board of Supervisors. Joining us now is Tracey Moriarty, a Democratic candidate on the ballot. Hi, Tracey. Thank you for coming in to talk with us.
Hello. It's good to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running?
A little bit about myself. I am the owner of Duffy's Boalsburg Tavern. I have an undergrad and a graduate degree in finance from Penn State. Why I'm running? I think that we have a supervisory board right now of people who have been there for decades. I think that we can see from some of the decisions, even in the borough, that perhaps people don't have the pulse on the community. We saw it with the eminent domain decision. We also saw it in Harris Township with 2 decisions that were made recently. One was with the growth plan of the township in changing the agricultural properties in this growth region to rural residential. This argument went on for over a year, and our agricultural farmers had to hire attorneys to change the minds of the supervisory board and the planning commission so that they could have their properties remain agricultural in this region. This should not be happening. If these properties change from agricultural to rural residential, there are things that they cannot do on their properties, things that that were provided their livelihoods. There's also another decision that was made in reference to the parking ordinance, the sweeping parking ordinance. Yes, we needed a sweeping parking ordinance in Harris Township, but nobody considered what it would do to the village. So we are still suffering from this. This went on, this was decided, I believe, in 2017. It affected us in 2020, and we still are having problems with it. We formed a parking committee, and no suggestions were followed. So I believe that we need somebody who has a pulse on the community a little bit better. I'm a business owner. We do not have business owners on supervisory board. And I'm right there in the tavern to listen to anybody who would like to come and talk, which is a little bit different as well.
And you mentioned a number of issues, but are there any in particular that you would see as a priority?
I think everything's a priority. I really think that there is no one issue that's bigger than another. I think that we tackle issues as they come up. I think we have to look at decisions that have been made in the past that are no longer effective in the community. I think our community is growing, and we really need to consider everything. And when we consider the decisions we make, we have to consider who we're harming and who we're benefiting, both, before we make decisions.
And you mentioned parking. Is there anything in particular that you would do differently, that you would like to see changed?
I think the first thing that I would do is pass the shared parking suggestion.
And what is that for people who aren't familiar with it?
It's very easy. If you have a change of use in the village, you have a parking impact. So perhaps you only have 4 parking spaces. Originally, you changed use to maybe a retail, and you need more than 4 parking spaces, and you can't provide them on your property. The shared parking allows you to designate parking, like in my parking lot where I have 17 parking spaces. I can share a parking space, 2 parking places, with the person who needs them. We can have a contract between us, and now they have the appropriate amount of parking for their business.
Is there concern, though, that that would end up meaning less or not adequate parking?
Well, actually, they counted the parking places in Boalsburg, and we are very close to exactly what we need according to the ordinances. So I guess the problem is people don't have the parking right there. So we have adequate parking, even though it seems like we don't, but according to the ordinances, we're pretty darn close.
On a big picture issue, the Center region continues to see a lot of growth and development, and the population is growing. There's new businesses and buildings going up. How do you view that growth, and how do you see it impacting the township, and what approach would you take to planning?
Well, growth is growth. Growth is always going to happen. I think that when we consider growth in the township, again, we have to look at the needs of everything. We have to. It's a hard fact that regardless of what happens, we are going to grow. People are going to sell farms. People are going to build neighborhoods. The impact of the community is on the roads or on this. You have to look at everything that's impacting on there as we grow. I don't know if there's a means to control the growth. I think that we need to make decisions. How do you say it? I think we need to be careful when we make decisions about what zoning is going to happen in different sections. That's all. That's basically where I'm standing on that. I don't really have an answer particularly for that.
Okay. Well, a bigger issue also is the impact that U.S. Route 322 could have on Harris Township. PennDOT is looking at the State College Connector Project, what
Yes.
it's being called, and redoing 322, a large section of it. And again, that could have a direct impact on the township. Yes. Do you have any thoughts on that, on what you would like to see or what concerns you and voters have?
I am very concerned about this. I feel that I have very little control of what they're doing. I feel that there are bigger people who have more control, like PennDOT, maybe Penn State. So for me, I continue to make sure that PennDOT understands what they're doing in what they decide. I don't think that they've done a lot of research. I don't think that their planning is exactly what it should be. I don't believe that they've actually followed the traffic to where the traffic ultimately is going. So I feel a little bit powerless in this situation. And I think a lot of people are frustrated because of that. So
What are your concerns?
I'm concerned about breaking up neighborhoods. I'm concerned about the impact of the noise. I'm concerned about any impact that would affect our area. I don't like it. I don't like the fact that a road is probably going to go through. I think that there were better options that would affect people less.
Can you elaborate on that, what you would like to see PennDOT do? And also, it's kind of as a follow-up to that, do you think that there is anything that the township can do?
I think the township has really, ultimately, I think the township has been doing a lot right now. I've spoken with the current supervisors, and I know they're following the situation very closely, as have I. They are in contact with PennDOT. There are letters that are going there. So I believe that they're probably doing the best they can do, and this needs to continue. It just needs to, again, the concerns are all there.
On a different topic, the Center Region Council of Governments is a shared services to the municipalities, to the members in the Center Region. Do you support being a part of COG, and are there any changes or new areas that you would like to see COG explore?
I support being a member of COG. I think these shared resources are very important. I think that the COG is growing significantly, and that concerns me. Fiscally, we have to be in touch with our constituency, and we have to really make sound decisions about how much COG is growing and how much money we're putting into COG and what our township needs. Because our township is growing, what our township needs and where that's leading to the growth of COG. It will grow.
And if you were elected, how would you do that?
There are budgets that come through, with a recent one that was rejected. So I think it's important to review all of this budget and decide what's best for our township. So it's not particularly difficult to do. When you have shared resources, I think it's easy.
Another COG initiative has been the Climate Action and Adaptation Plan, which the member municipalities have signed off on, and has a number of goals, including reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Do you support that, and is there more or any changes you'd like to see?
I support anything that reduces pollution anywhere. I support less plastic, I'm a big supporter of that. And honestly, I've not read their initiative, their total initiative, so I would have to read over that before I could answer that question.
But you do support the general idea?
Yes, I do.
Is what it sounds like. Okay. And you had talked a couple times about being in touch with the voters and what voters want or what residents of the township want. How would you do that?
Well, I think that there are a number of ways to do that. I would really like to see the people who move into the township receive a letter welcoming them to the township and giving them the resources of the township. I'd like to see more emails received for the township updates, which I think that can happen with letters going out. I know that there are people who will not pay attention too, which is difficult. So you're kind of like catch up at the end. So I believe that with just conversations, even in conversations, asking people if they are receiving the updates. I think that the updates need to be a little more extensive than they are. Pointing me in a direction that says go and find out the agenda for a meeting, and then I go look at the agenda and it's not particularly descriptive. So I think things could be more descriptive, things could be more helpful. Things could be, we are voting on this ordinance today. This is that. If you have a comment, please come. And I think that we could get more information out there easily.
Tracey, we have about a minute left. Is there anything else you'd like to say to voters?
I don't really know. I look forward to working with the township. I really do. I look forward to working with the people in the township. We have a great township, and it can remain great. I think that I think the people make it great. I love suggestions. I love to hear them because it shows concern by people who live there. And not all suggestions can be done, but just the fact of listening is awesome. It's really awesome to get out there and just listen to people and what they have to say.
Tracey Moriarty, thank you so much for coming in to talk with us.
Thank you.
We've been talking with Tracey Moriarty, a Democratic candidate in the race for Harris Township Board of Supervisors. All candidates were invited to join us in CNET. I'm Ann Danahy. Thank you for watching, and please remember to vote in the election November 7th. Hello and welcome to CNET's 2023 general election coverage. I'm Ann Danahy, and today we're profiling the race for Harris Township Board of Supervisors. Joining us now is Nigel Wilson, a cross-filed candidate in the race for supervisor. Hi Nigel, thanks for coming in to talk with us.
Hi Ann, thank you for having me.
Can you start by just telling us a little bit about yourself and why you're running?
Well, I've always been interested in community service, and that's my main goal here as a supervisor. I've been a supervisor for many terms already, and I like having positive input into the community, into the decisions that are made for the community, and I think I've done a really good job with that so far.
Are there any particular issues that would be your priorities if you were reelected?
I have so many priorities. I guess a big priority that's been brought to our attention recently is the actual village of Boalsburg. It's not really very walkable at this point in time. There's issues with sidewalks and ADA things, and we're looking into this, and we want to get it done, and we're looking hopefully for grant money to pull this off. So that will make the village a lot prettier and a lot safer for pedestrians. That's one thing. Another thing is traffic calming going through the corridor of Bowl Avenue. Business 322 in Boalsburg. It's getting busier and busier with the new business, Bowl City Brewing Company. We have an intersection which could be much safer, and we've submitted an ARLI grant for this, and we're hoping we get the grant money so we can make a safe pedestrian crossing across to the entrance of the Military Museum, which people may park at, or people that live up on the hill development where I live will possibly be walking.
And can you describe that for people who aren't familiar with it? What type of pedestrian crossing are we talking about?
Well, at least marking it. There's no formal pedestrian crossing there, so we'd like to have signage that are pedestrian crossing ahead of the crossing either directions, possibly with flashing lights to draw drivers' attention, because drivers get distracted and flashing lights work to get your attention.
And there is increased traffic, as you noted. Is there anything else that you think that the township should take a look at?
Well, along that corridor, the other thing that's become an increasing problem is left turns from Bowl Avenue onto the Boalsburg Pike. There were roughly 250 homes on the hill development, and when Liberty Hill is developed, there's another 250 that can be accessed by Memorial Drive, which is right up from the intersection. So we're getting more and more left turns, and we've had rear-end collisions there, and the problem is the way the traffic's routed. A lot of people want to be in the left lane because once you pass that intersection, you have to be in the left lane if you don't want to be funneled into the village of Boalsburg on Main Street. And so it's like people jockeying for position, and it's a dangerous thing. So we'd like to have a dedicated left turn lane there to squeeze the traffic down, and so we don't have that kind of safety issue.
Also on the topic of growth and development, that's something that is happening in the center region in different levels and different places. Do you have any thoughts about how the township should plan for or respond to growth and development?
Well, we're always looking into ways to manage growth and development. We're looking into preserving open spaces. We have for years using zoning tools to accomplish this. So one of the ways we've done this is traditionally in agricultural zoned land, minimum lot size is 1 acre, but we already have an ordinance on the books that was created quite a few years ago that I was involved in that would reduce that requirement to half an acre or even less, I think. But 50% of the entire development has to remain open space. So you don't have just sprawl all the way out from the center. You still have farm fields, or open space can be other things. It could be a golf course, or forest land, who knows? But anyway, just to, keep some green space, open space in the township.
And one particular issue that would have a real impact on Harris Township is what ends up happening with Route 322, and PennDOT is taking a look at that project, the State College Connector project, and could be repositioned. It could be a lot of 3 different options on the table right now, but all of them having an impact on Harris Township. Do you have any thoughts about that, either about what you would like to see or how you think the township should continue to be involved in that process?
Yeah, I wonder if we'll be laying in front of bulldozers. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to bash PennDOT, but I don't think we've gotten the service and possible alternatives all examined well. And so all 3 of the proposed routes will affect Harris Township, and that's really sad. And we were pushing for actually for a no-build option, because I think overall traffic will end up increasing through the township on Route 322 if it is made an expressway, and it's already a problem. It's a pollution problem. It's a noise problem, and so we're just going to keep working and hoping that we can convince PennDOT to do the most sensible thing. Unfortunately, they used some outdated GIS data when they came up with alternatives, and municipality, Harris Township and Potter Township have pointed that out to PennDOT, and hopefully they're re-examining that very closely to have the least impact possible on the community.
So when you say a no-build option, is that what you would like them to take a look at? Are you talking about maybe adding turning lanes, or
Correct.
just
safety improvements on existing 322 in Harris and Potter Townships, in that corridor between Boalsburg, Harris Township, and Potter's Mills? There could be many safety improvements. There already have been some, and there could be many more that would make the route much safer, and in doing so, it would still, it wouldn't add extra traffic coming through the center region. So it affects the entire center region, the way the routing's established. I mean, I'm very disappointed that PennDOT threw out the 144 corridor option early on, which would have been an 8-mile trip to connect from Potter's Mills to Interstate 80, whereas what's going on, the proposals now are about 20 miles to make that connection. And just the name, State College Connector, no, it's not a State College Connector. It's the 322 Interstate 80 connector. And so right from the start, I was against that term. That's a big issue.
And PennDOT obviously isn't here. I'm guessing they would say that they're going to use or are using up-to-date traffic information, but it sounds like you want the townships to have more of a voice in the process.
Yeah, well, the GIS data that they used actually didn't include some new development in the township, including the township's new maintenance facility, which cost $3.5 million. Spread out over time, of course, but it was a necessary thing. So hopefully they're going to get around that and that industrial park. And that was another issue. If they put this one route through and took out a lot of this industrial park, then the township has to find other land to zone industrial to meet the zoning requirements in the second-class township code. So that would bring up yet another issue. So I certainly hope they're taking a close look at that. They've said they're not going to affect our building, but I hope they don't affect the entire industrial park as well.
And you've sort of begun to answer this question, but why is it so important? Why are you concerned about the negative impacts? What negative impacts do you see it having on the township if one of these routes that they're looking at is chosen?
Well, any route that they take is taking land and homes or farms, and it'll just be increased traffic closer to the center of the community. And right now the way 322 interchanges, and it's sort of off the edge of the village, but a couple of the proposals are bringing it closer to the village for a stretch. And hopefully they'll go the other way, but even when they do that, they're going to be taking some land. And again, I think it can be accomplished with safety improvements without having another, a full expressway.
On a different topic, Harris Township is a member of the Center Region Council of Governments, which offers shared services to the member municipalities. Do you support that, and are there any changes or new directions you would like to see with COG?
I definitely support the COG. The programs have saved taxpayers a lot of money. The economy of scale is huge. It really is. I mean, the Parks and Rec program is amazing. Our parks are maintained very well at a reasonable cost to us. Other services, planning services, code services are all done through the COG, and it's done very efficiently and top-notch quality. The Center Region COG is a premier COG in the state of Pennsylvania and actually in the entire country. There aren't very many like us that cooperate as well as we do.
And one COG initiative has been the Climate Action Plan, which the member municipalities have signed off on, and it sets goals for reducing greenhouse gas emissions and related topics. Do you support that? And are there any thoughts on what direction you would like to see that go?
I definitely support it, and I think possibly I'd like to see more aggressive things. You know, we've gotten involved in, along with other entities, a solar power purchasing agreement that we're looking into, and I personally am in favor of pushing a little harder and getting more and more solar. You know, governments set examples for what should happen, and so I see no reason why we can't just push solar a lot and have all these organizations. Now, this includes the school district, the county, all the municipalities in the Center Region, probably some other ones I can't think of off the top of my head, but we get all those to really push solar power. It could make a big impact.
And we have a few minutes left. Is there anything else you'd like to say to voters?
No, I just, I've really enjoyed my time on the board. I take pride in my thinking and my decision making. I'm always willing to listen. An example, we had a rural redistricting ordinance that was presented, originally planned by our, the idea was presented by our planners. Our planning commission looked into it, and there were some issues with it that we actually wouldn't recognize that affected the agricultural community, and we listened and decided they had a lot of good points, and we adjusted our ordinance to accommodate their needs, to keep keep farms in business. And so, we're flexible. I'm not going to dig my heels in on a decision I made. I'm perfectly willing, given the evidence, to change my mind on any issue.
Well, Nigel Wilson, thank you so much for coming in to talk with us.
Well, thank you again for having me.
We've been talking with Nigel Wilson, a cross-filed candidate in the race for Harris Township Board of Supervisors. All candidates on the ballot were invited to join us on CNET. I'm Ann Danahy. Thank you for watching, and please remember to vote in the election November 7th.